hope you all are having a wonderful evening, and thanks a lot for joining the Town Hall Meet the GB candidates. My name is Anya. I'm one of the EYP team members working in the international office in Berlin. And today I have a pleasure to introduce you to moderator of this event. It's Ignacio from Spain, who is the current chair of the governing body. And he unfortunately has only his final weeks left chairing the governing body and being the GB member, but he will moderate tonight's event with our 9 candidates or 8 candidates who are able to join. And on a practical note, Ignacio will run you through all the details of tonight's event. But as a small note, I would like to ask all the audience people, so non-GB candidates, to please switch off your cameras, because we would like for all of you to see the GB candidates in the spotlight. Thank you very much. And Ignacio, I'm passing on to you. Good luck to all of you. And yeah, looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much, Anya. Hope everybody can hear me. And yeah, welcome everybody to the 2020 GB Elections Town Hall. As Anya was saying, I'm Igor Martinez, Chair and GB member until the end of the year, sadly. And yeah, we are gathered here for the Town Hall, which is going to be a short debate and sharing of ideas between the different candidates that have been, as Anya was saying, have been able to attend this event. And we will hear from the different candidates very soon, but just as a short introduction to the different, let's say, rules of the game, I'm going to explain very briefly that everybody in the public, let's say, everybody that is not a candidate can ask questions. So I would like you to put them in the chat if you would like to do so. And we will try to answer them or adapt them to the different topics that we're going to discuss tonight. And then in addition to that, GB candidates have a function of raising their hands whenever they want to do a direct response. Therefore, in order to avoid confusion on my side, if I could ask everybody that is not a GB candidate to avoid raising their hand for that. So we're going to use it as some sort of direct response function. Again, let me remind you that if everybody that is not GB candidate could also turn off their video in order to have the candidates right in the spotlight. And I hope everybody can hear us well, and hopefully this is a very fruitful debate. We have 8 candidates available. However, 9 candidates decided to run for this year's GB elections. So we're going to run through a short introduction from each of them in a second. But before, I would like to also remind everybody that Aritz Labrador, a fellow EYPer, has also applied to join the GB, and unfortunately is not going to be able to join us tonight. However, I would encourage everybody to not only read through the manifesto of Aritz and watch his video, but also read through the manifestos and videos from the different GB candidates. This debate will be posted online in the Facebook event page that has been created for this occasion. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now we're going to hear a bit from different candidates. So I'm just going to do a random order. So can we have Anthony to introduce himself?
Yeah, hello, random order starting from the A. Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm 24. I am part of EYP Finland. I have been part of EYP since 2012. I am currently in my last year of a double master's degree at the University of Konstanz. I'm writing my thesis in April. And I have mainly served as a member of the EYP media. And that's why part of my manifesto is concerning that. Other than that, I am also head-throwing the IF in Finland. That's it.
Ida, can we hear from you?
Hi, my name is Ida Kalliokoski. I'm 25. I'm also from EYP Finland. And Currently, I am working as a specialist at the Finnish Employment and Business Services. I graduated a year ago as a Master of Social Sciences with majors in International European Relations. And I also started in EYP in 2012, and since then have had a very active history in EYP, especially in board work. I have been member of board of EYP Finland for 2 years. I was also in the BNC board for the last term, so I have a very good understanding of board works of both national and international level.
Fantastic. Can we have Leonor?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Leonor. You can call me Leo. I'm 20 years old. I'm originally from Portugal, but I moved to the Netherlands a couple of years ago. So I'm now a member of EYP the Netherlands. I've joined EYP 4 years ago. I've been in like most teams and done a bit everywhere. I study international studies in Leiden University, and I focus on the region of Africa for my studies. And yeah, I have a passion for disability justice and for social justice. So that's kind of like what I'm running on. And yeah.
Ozer?
Hey everyone, I'm Ozer Shallo. I'm from Pakistan. I'm 17 years old. I'm currently working in the civil society. I'm working with the European Union and in the partnership with international organizations such as UNICEF and International Peace Bureau. And I'm running, and as you know, I'm running for the governing body elections because I believe that a high school student also should be there for age diversity, and that's all.
Thank you very much. Julia?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see so many familiar names. Looking forward to seeing your faces later. My name is Julia. I'm 26 years old and I'm from EYP Ireland. I've been a member of EYP since 2010, and since then I've had the privilege to be part of many teams and to meet many of you along the way. And my last session was last year in Valencia. So I guess for the last year, I've just been following your the growth and how you're all adapting to the new environment, I guess, that we're all working within. And I've been very impressed, and it's just been a joy to, I guess, learn from what you are doing and take that into my life now as well. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here and looking forward to hearing from you all.
Fantastic. Thank you. David, can we hear from you?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is David Manukyan. I'm from Yerevan, Armenia. I'm 22. I have a bachelor's degree in public relations and communications, and currently I'm employed as a scientific engagement executive in an international corporation. I've been involved in EYP for 5 years, 4 out of which I've served in the board. I've also been a part of the Development Council and working group on knowledge sharing. I've also been in the core organizing team of 2019 international session in Yerevan. Yeah, this is pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm actually quite excited, as you can see from my cheeks. I'm Ludovica Formicola. Most of you know me as Vicky, though. I know Ludovica is a little bit hard to pronounce. I come from Italy, from Trieste, which is in the north, in the northeast, close to Slovenia. I am currently in Rome, studying for a master's in global economic governance and public affairs. I'm 23 and I've been part of EYP for the past 6 years, so since 2014. I've been vice president of EYP Italy since 2018, and my term ended actually last week. And also I've been student representative in my university. This is my experience. Other than that, I also have a very strong passion for music. And this is like the basic thing that I do other than studying. So again, I'm really excited to be here, and I hope to hear from you soon with all of your questions.
And finally, last but not least, Benjamin.
Hello, everyone. I am Benjamin. I use he, him pronouns. I am 21 and I'm from France. I am a young graduate in environmental science, a master's degree that I had in London, and I am now an entrepreneur trying to build a sustainable venture. I started the EYP in 2014, thanks to EYP Friends Outreach and Inclusion Strategy. And I followed my path in our organization through several positions. And I eventually joined like board positions for EYP Friends. I also was representative of EYP Friends at the Board of National Committees. And I spent the year being governing body associate, which helped me gain valuable knowledge of how the governing body is working and what are the missions and action that I'm willing to take to help the EYP move forward for the next term. Thank you.
Fantastic. So now we're going to kick off with the first part of the debate, which is going to be just a short speech from each of the members, which, as I have explained before the debate with the candidates, I would like for it to be short. So 1 minute trying to answer the question of what are the main challenges that EYP faces for the next years, and how do you think that they should be tackled, and what can you contribute in order to tackle those issues? So I think we're going to follow exactly the same order as for the introduction. So if we could hear from Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the next 2 years are going to see a lot of challenges from an external perspective. That's what we've been moving towards a lot. And we've started a lot of processes within an internal capacity, in the sense of safety teams and inclusion and outreach and all these ideas. However, a lot of questions have been raised about our relationship with the outer world, and those have kind of remained unanswered, and they kind of remained floating. As a person who works a lot with external relations and international relations and negotiation, that I feel like that was something that stuck out to me, and this is what I wanted to kind of tackle with my candidacy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ida, can we hear from you?
Yes. Well, there are obviously many challenges, but due to the time constraint, I'm just going to focus on one, which I think is going to be the most pressing and the next challenge that we're going to face, and that is moving from the quarantine measurements back to face-to-face meetings, and because I do believe that it's going to be imbalanced between different countries and different regions, where quarantines can be loosened faster than in other places. So I think it is important to keep that in mind and provide NCs with the support that they need, since we know that there are a lot of NCs that have started their board journey during COVID-19. So I think it's very important to support NCs in that regard, and also keep the momentum of online events and hybrid events intact in order for outreach and inclusion.
Fantastic. Then after Ida, can we hear from Leonor?
Yes, perfect. I'm just going to put a timer on. So I think one of the main things that we think about when we're talking about the challenges that we're going to face in the future is definitely the challenges that have been brought forward by COVID-19, not only speaking from the fact that we're isolated, but all the like structural flaws that we've seen in society thanks to this. And as a disabled person, I think that there are certain things that actually got better during this pandemic for me. Some got definitely worse, but one of them is accessibility. And as other candidates have mentioned, the possibility for online events has really made a big difference for people, not only disabled people, but also people in more like rural places and people from more disadvantaged backgrounds who can't afford to travel. And I really think it's important that we take this opportunity to kind of step up our game and use this to kind of bring this knowledge forward and to change the way that we do our things forever, basically.
Great stuff. Very well timed. Ozer, can we hear from you?
Yes, I think Some of the challenges that EYP is going to face is that we have lack of communication, especially between the national committees, which need to increase to develop our internal relations. And also, I think we have problems with reaching out to the outer world, as I mentioned in my manifesto, and as other candidates mentioned. So I think I'm going to focus on to develop our external relations of the EYP to increase the visibility of young people, and especially to increase the visibility of our organization to be heard. And also, we need to develop those external and internal relations to become stronger and reach out to schools and teachers for more participants. And that's all.
Fantastic. Julia, what do you think are the next challenges approaching us?
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess when I was developing the manifesto, I think the three opportunities and the three aims that I focused on base themselves in challenges that are currently facing EYP. So I think the first one that I would say is the implementing the new strategy. And I think this is, although it's maybe challenges that we have yet to foresee, I think this is a great opportunity to support also the NCs in bringing the more international values and network to a local level. So I think this is something that I would like to focus on. And I think it can be quite a challenge at the very beginning of new strategies and new plans. Secondly, I guess as Leo mentioned, the accessibility in EYP, we've come so far in this already, but I think we still have a long way to go. And as Anthony mentioned, I think this will also bring with it new challenges as we try to move forward in a positive way. There's always things that you have to come across. So I hope to do this, and also within the organization as well. And then I think I'll leave it for there because I think I'm over my minute.
Fantastic. Don't worry. David?
Yeah. So, of course, there are many challenges that we have faced and are still facing now. The biggest one at the moment being the pandemic. That's why I think it is a challenge for us to learn to be a bit more resilient and to be able to address all of the challenges in a more sustainable way and not to be affected from those that much. Another challenge that I think the upcoming GB will have to deal with is to finalize the strategy, ensure its implementation, and as it was already mentioned to help the national committees to bring the umbrella international strategy to their national levels and to help them to effectively implement it, basically.
Fantastic. Then after David, can we hear from Vicky?
Thank you. For many years, and in the drafting of the international strategy, as Julia and David mentioned, EYPers have voiced their will to engage with local communities and bring concrete change in the world that they live in. So based on this idea, I think that we should focus on the idea of activism and advocacy as an organization to make the reputation and the credibility of EYP grow and have a greater impact on our societies. So I think that we should agree on a shared direction and find a common stance on matters of international interest, such as the pandemic, as you already mentioned, and the sustainable development goals. I think we should join efforts with youth organizations to make our voice stronger, also within international institutions. I think we should find new partners to become a stakeholder through the involvement in social actions. And lastly, I think that we should concentrate on NC support and support NCs in organizing their events through greater funding, more expertise to have a greater impact. So I think this would be my priorities.
Thank you very much. And then Benjamin.
Yes, I believe our main challenge as network is to move forward, move from sanitary uncertainty, political stability uncertainty also around Europe. And I believe in this difficult context and tough time, we have all our challenges as an organization compiled in our international strategy, the EYP strategy that is upcoming. And so I believe all our efforts should be put around its implementation. as this strategy is not that far from the ones we already had in the past. We're only getting deeper in our in different areas, and so my main ideas for the networks will be to guide national committees to get the grips of this EYP strategy, to build a sustainable governance and sustainable management of our events, and also to get way deeper in our outreach and inclusion strategy.
Thank you. So this wraps up the initial introductions that we've heard from the different candidates, and now we're going to move to particular topics. So the way this is going to work is we're going to discuss 5-6 different topics, and I'm going to ask one of the different candidates to elaborate further on content that they've mentioned either in their introductions or in their manifestos, in order to spark a little bit of debate. So I would ask also the candidates that are listening to also raise their hands if they would like to respond or add further into one of the candidates' points. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is national committee support, national committee cooperation, and capacity building. So for example, one of the people that have really discussed this in their manifesto has been Ida, for example, mentioning the idea that we need to provide support to national committees in order to prepare this transition to more in-person events. So can you elaborate a bit on that and how we should help NCs?
Yes, of course. As you mentioned, and as I said in the challenge part before, I do think that it's going to be a bit of a challenge to go, or not necessarily go back to a new normal, because I think that we have a really good thing going on with the online events. So I think we need to explore that more. And what I mean with NC support in this regard is that I would like to see a bit more lessons learned, more sharing of different pros and cons of events, and especially if there are NCs who are moving towards hybrid events, so they could also share their lessons learned. So I think the GB could be in a very essential part in this, not necessarily telling NCs what to do, but in facilitating this conversation between NCs, and also being sort of a messenger between different NCs in these lessons learned, and being of help in this way, and maybe building a little bit of capacity in this regard. So I hope that gives a bit more better answer or a bit more clarity.
Yeah, fantastic. Any of the candidates would like to come in? David, go ahead.
Yeah, just to go a bit broader, taking into account the massive work that the network is doing, and all of us are volunteers here. In general, cooperation and capacity building are very, very important to maintain the standard that we all want to have. So the matter should be addressed both on individual and NC level as well as internationally. And I think a key here is to increase the number of capacity building events and to improve the interconnectivity of the NCs, so that NCs will have a better understanding of each other's needs and concerns, and also will be able to combine the strengths and support each other in their weaknesses. And an effective tool for that can be, for example, the regional clusters that we have, which I think have a huge potential to develop even further and become a platform for ensuring better cooperation, synergy, and exchange of ideas and experience.
Thank you very much. Leonor, would you like to pop in there?
Yes, and I think adding on to what the two other candidates have said, I think one really important thing that has happened and this pandemic has shown is how different countries are doing differently, and how we can kind of use this opportunity to learn from each other, but also understand that like each country is in a different place and has different priorities. And I think the GB should be acting in a way that kind of respects each country's priorities and each country's situation, especially in a post-pandemic scenario, and should kind of like see and work alongside them in that sense, rather than like establish necessarily like goals for everyone that everyone has to upkeep, but rather kind of like make sure that everyone is working towards a positive direction at their own pace and according to their own needs.
Great stuff. Benjamin.
Yes, I believe the pandemic situation really helped us redefine the relationships in our networks between NCs, but also with the GB and the international office. And I believe the future of these relationships needs to grow towards empowerment from the international office and the GB toward the national committees. The national committees already have the keys. They don't need to receive more guidelines. Like I believe they have a lot. We just need to create more space so they can really get the grasp of our organization, and also have enough space to exchange good practices, debate, and really have the keys to analyze what is working in their NCs and how they can improve everything.
Fantastic. Vicky, would you like to come in?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add to what also Leonor was saying. Basically, the pandemic is, yes, a big challenge, but can also represent a great opportunity. And I think that our shift towards online formats for we don't know how much time also give us a huge potential to also increase more members in international trainings, for example. I think we should support NCs in their communication strategies in particular, also because getting in contact with partners and sponsors is particularly difficult in this scenario. So generally, I think that yes, we should put a focus on capacity building and also lift the potential of our members by using the online platforms that are available now to broaden our pool of members and provide all the people that are part of EYP with the necessary knowledge to cope with this situation.
Thank you. Anthony.
Yeah, sort of to look at it from a slightly different angle. We have almost 40 NCs in the network, and a big problem is they're of different sizes. They were built in a different way, and they work in a different way. And kind of as was mentioned by Benjamin, each NC is going to approach each problem in their own unique way, and we shouldn't. Guidelines are great, but we shouldn't overburden them, and we can't try and make uniform guidelines on certain topics for everyone. And I think that's a very important point to look at and mention, and that's why a part of my kind of manifesto and idea and approach has been to individually approach NCs and have a conversation and understand how they want to approach things and what they think is the most important, and then gather that together to create the best possible agenda and the best possible direction for each individual NC and see where we overlap and not, to be the most effective for everyone and not to overburden everyone. Thank you.
And then can we hear from Oser first before going to Julia?
Okay, I believe that, as other candidates mentioned, I believe that we should focus on capacity building and especially networking building, because we need to create a new platform for the national committees, especially to members of national committees, to increase the communication between each other. Because then a young person from, for example, A country and a young person from the B country should exchange their ideas, and that will create them an opportunity to develop new strategies, ideas, and maybe projects. And also I believe that cooperation will help us to improve our visibility and access to more schools and more people or more teachers. So I believe that governing body and international office should work together to develop a new platform, because as far as I know, the previous platforms didn't work that well for that communication. So that's all.
Thank you, Oser. And then Julia?
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose my point will kind of echo what the other candidates were saying, and we probably will touch on these again in the next topics. But I think just to really emphasize the idea that I think the challenges that we face now and with working online and with the pandemic is more of an opportunity to not just go back to normal, but I guess is a huge shift in defining our new normal and how we want to move forward in EYP. And I think oftentimes things that once seemed impossible or once seemed like a huge jump for an organization are often helped by these kind of shifts in our surroundings and our environment. So I think definitely that will be something that the GB should be focusing on definitely in the next months, but in the years to come, is that kind of how do we really embrace and make the most of the changes that all the NCs and the network is experiencing as a whole, and to really bring this to, like I know others have said, to bring it to a local and national level, and how each national committee can deal with this change to the best of, to make the best of it for themselves, and then thus the best for the network, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. And I think this final point also can bring us to the question that Moritz brought in the chat bar, asking how would the GB candidates mend the gap between digital and in-person or like between quotation marks normal EYPers to make sure that we have the possibility of enriching the experience of all participants, both if they come from an in-person event or a digital event. Who would like to answer this question? Julia?
Yeah, I can continue with this if that's okay. So yeah, I think this is the big challenge, but I think, like I said it before, I think it's also a huge opportunity to, like, these digital sessions have brought so many more members to the organization that may not have reached us before. So I think already EYP is at a great advantage in having reached out to new people, and I think it's just about showing and bringing everyone into the network and into our plans and into the new strategy and how we're doing everything. And I think inclusion in the processes is how you really make people feel valued and involved, and I think that will be a huge benefit to the digital, I guess, participants who will now be becoming normal members, or and I guess again it's about defining what a normal member will be in the future for me, I think.
Yeah, that's a very good point on understanding exactly how can we create a coherent and comprehensive experience for everybody. And then can we also hear, for example, from Benjamin? Would you like to come in?
Yes, definitely. I completely agree with what Julia said. I just want to build on the opportunities that the digital formats are holding to us, because we had to adapt a bit in a rush to these formats, but keep in mind that it took us like many years to come to what our events are in person, like organizational thinking and stuff. And now we can enter a new period when we can really think of all the opportunities about the digital, and we can already think about multilingualism and reintroducing multilingualism in the EYP, which is a really important point. And I'm sure the digital will enable us to open many doors to come. And regarding in-person events, I'm sure we already have enough experience in it to keep going. And I believe 1 year didn't make us forget everything. So it should be fine.
Thank you, Benjamin. Leonor, would you like to come in? You already mentioned this topic in your introduction. Would you like to elaborate a bit further?
Yes, thank you so much. There's something that I wanted to talk about is, and one thing that kind of concerns me a lot is the knowledge gap that we're going to have in very key parts of in-person EYP sessions. For example, team building, I think, looks very different when we're doing it online. And whenever it is that we are able to do in-person events again, we have to really make sure that NCs and team leaders and the people who are conducting the sessions don't kind of lose the knowledge that we've perfected over the years, and that we kind of like create a framework where people can like not have to learn from zero, but where people who have like organized the a lot of times during in a digital session, have some complementary training and have like adequate training to kind of transfer that knowledge onto how to organize in person, and sort of make sure that neither knowledge is lost, and that it's all like a smooth transition. And another thing is that as a network, we also need to talk about the way that we will restructure our things. Will we have international sessions that will take place online? How are we going to do regionals, nationals? And this is something that needs to be discussed at an international level, because we have this certain framework that needs selections and stuff to happen. So I think this is more of a question that I'm asking everyone, but I think this is something that we definitely need to sit down and talk about.
David, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, many things have already been said, basically, and it is obvious that the digital sessions open a lot of digital sessions open a lot of doors for us, especially when it comes to inclusion. However, I think that in the upcoming period, we will have opportunity to combine and have hybrid system for sessions that will incorporate both digital aspects and basically face-to-face aspects. And I see a lot of very interesting opportunities that we can further develop. And I'm sure that the whole network will only benefit from it.
Thank you. And then I could see Ida nodding after the point from David. Would you like to come on and say a bit more?
Thank you. And I just saw Moritz just made a little follow-up, so maybe I can touch on that a bit more, because I think most of my points to the previous one have already been said about the membership, but I also do want to say a little bit membership, because membership has been a discussion for many years already in the BNC, for example, on the international level. What is an EYP member, how it is defined, because each NC has their own procedure in membership. So in other NCs, the definition of a member is very clear, whereas others, it is quite unclear. So I also think that this is something that the NCs themselves should focus on, obviously with the help of other NCs, with the help of the governing body, in order to create a membership system for themselves that makes it more clearer for them. And then in terms of in merging in-person events and digital events, it's going to be difficult. And as I think Benjamin already said, that this previous way of having events is a product of many, many years. So I think with this merging of digital and face-to-face is also a process. So in my opinion, there are two ways that we can go about this. Is either to have both an online and then a face-to-face aspect to the session. So first or online and then face-to-face, or the other way around, or that the entire session is both available to join online or in person. So I really don't know how that either of those would work, but that is something that I would see as definite possibilities to explore.
Thank you very much, Ida. Then can we hear from Vicky first, and then moving to Anthony?
Yes, I just wanted to go back to the original question where Moritz asked whether NCs are actually waiting to go back to normality, which is sometimes the case. I actually think that we should approach it from a different angle. So having some consultations, as Anthony mentioned at the very beginning, with NCs, but the GB should help NCs to brainstorm on what options are available. This means that some NCs might want to wait for sessions to be in presence, but at the same time, we can concentrate on having trainings online, on having roundtables, conferences. And this, as also Moritz mentioned in the follow-up, is extremely beneficial in terms of outreach and inclusion. I think that we should maybe start rethinking our EYP formats to be more appealing for groups that, or certain people that probably cannot travel for a week or for a longer period of time. because they're working, because they're studying, or they don't have the financial capability. So basically, I think we should brainstorm on other ways of merging digital in our community life as EYPers, but not necessarily shifting the entire EYP format as we know it into digital or in presence.
And then Anthony, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to second Vicky's points there. Specifically the fact that I don't think it's black and white. I don't think it's neither here nor there. I feel like the last 6 months has really shown us that there are a lot of positives in a digital event, right? And I feel like, just to, off the top of my head, taking the EYP Finland's format of regional sessions, if we want to talk about inclusion, for instance, having out of the 4 possible regional sessions, having 3 being physical in the standard form and having 1 being digital would essentially help gather as many people possible, because not everyone will be able to from remote regions access this. However, I still think that from a educational standpoint and from what traditionally EYP is, we cannot, just because NCs have successfully done digital events, we can't just throw away all of our prior experiences in physical events. And I feel like despite the digital age coming onto us pretty strongly, we will still need to have a lot of physical kind of experience that goes through in later work life, for instance, that you just won't get from digital.
Thank you very much. I think this wraps up this initial topic of discussion that we've had, but I would like to touch upon while moving to the next one, which is going to be on outreach and inclusion, and how we incorporate people into our NCs as members, and how we facilitate their opportunity to participate in our events. I would like to start this discussion using the question from Nura, a fellow GB member, asking how do the GB candidates see the future of selections in EYP, and how can they how do you envision a possibility of creating more inclusive and open formats for participants? How would that look like? So I can start to see a couple of hands up. Can I hear from Ira first, and then we can move to Benjamin?
Yes, and thank you to Nura for the question. I do see that there is a good possibility in terms of selection, that I do see that we still continue to organize national and regional events, because they are very big part of getting members to EYP, and it's a very important entry point. But in terms of making it more inclusive, I think that having a more open access to events is the key. That there shouldn't be strict application processes already to sessions, especially if we're talking about the entry step to EYP, for example, regional sessions. So I think there shouldn't be already strict applications to that. And also in terms of international sessions or international forums, I would also embrace the possibility of, well, we've called it wildcard application, but open that to even more members, so that it wouldn't be strictly on those who have started or been put forward by the NCs. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ida. Can we hear from Benjamin on this topic?
Yeah, so many thanks, Nura, for this question. Actually, good news is that this is something that we can achieve if we take, like, I can only take my experience, but I was part of the board of EYP France when we decided to get rid of the selections in our network. And I have to say that this is just really, really good to do so for the networks, and actually it brings us a lot more diversity in our events. and it was just like incredible seeing this process happen. Kind of a downside is that this is a long process, and in EYP France we have been able to do so because mainly we were able to have a long-term outreach strategy, outreach and inclusion strategy. But if the aims and objectives of the strategy are strong enough and ambitious enough, this is something that is achievable, and that EYP France will be more than happy to share knowledge and experience with the whole network to build on this.
Thank you, Benjamin. Leonor?
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to mention that was mentioned also a couple questions ago is that we need to work on really not creating a divide between people who have joined EYP more digitally and people who have joined EYP physically, but also work on like when we get the possibility of doing sessions in person, not falling into gatekeeping those sessions for people who like can afford them and who are healthy enough to participate in them, and kind of be like, oh, we have digital events now, so we don't need to be inclusive during our physical events anymore, and to kind of like create a division even further than the division that already exists, that I see some animosity between people who have been in the network for longer and people who have just done digital sessions. And I personally feel like what Ida talked about hybrid sessions and more flexibility is the key. I think we also need to rethink the way that the jury is structured. Like I've seen a lot of people not getting selected because they weren't able to participate during a day, because they were late, because they have stage fright. And this is something that we actively need to rethink. And we need to make sure that we are doing the best to our abilities to kind of make sure that everyone has the possibility to participate, and that we're not judging them on standardized ways of judging. So yeah, I think that's my time.
Anthony?
I mean, I kind of partially agree with what Leonor says, but my issue is maybe I think about this more traditionally. But if we're not meant to think about, I mean, the whole point of jury is to select participants to the next process, to the next stage of a session. That's been the standard, right? If we're going to continue with the standard, I don't necessarily see a way how we cannot not have a standardized way, because once you start not having standardized way, you create unfair discrepancy between candidacy. Like, of course, we need to improve and evolve the system to help and include the more broadly understand why certain candidates aren't able to perform to the best of their ability. However, we also need to not kind of completely forego the whole process, because without the process exists and has been refined over the course of the last 35 years, and it'll continue refining, but we cannot just completely forget it. Yeah, that's just a direct response to Leonor's point.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I think Leonor wants to answer back.
Yeah, if that's okay, I can very quickly just explain that a bit further. I think that, yes, we've been looking over the past, like we've been learning how to make this better. But I think that's the point of EYP, and what I really think we're all here for, and the reason why we stayed. It's not because we have a great command of English. It's not because we have great previous knowledge of the topics that we discussed, but it's rather because we have an investment in active citizenship, and because we interact in a certain way. And I think that's mainly what separates us from other debating clubs. And I think that jury selections nowadays, or at least when I last saw them, are still very much based on like a good command of English, made enough points during GA, did enough speeches, blah, 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 this very standardized way of looking at participation, while we should rather be looking at these people and be like, do I see the potential for that EYP can offer them, and can they offer EYP that potential too? So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on, kind of distancing ourselves from traditional ways of evaluating people and looking at what they can offer to our network and what the network can offer them.
Thank you very much, Leonor. Vicky, would you like to reply to that?
Sure, yes. I think that the issue might be different. I think that selection implies a sort of exclusiveness, meaning that the issue is that there are too many members for the spots available at sessions. But I just wish to reiterate that selection is just one way of getting involved, so we shouldn't stick to that too much. I think the real issue here is keeping people interested, even if they haven't been selected. And I think there is a series of ways to achieve this. For example, NCs can try to organize different types of events to spark the interest of members that have not been selected. For example, it's maybe something really easy, but extremely effective to organize members' weekends or alumni weekends to keep people interested in their life as EYPers and get involved in even more events, maybe not as delegates at ISs or forums or whatever that is, but by contributing to the life of that NC by organizing another alumni weekend or by organizing a small event. There are many different ways of getting people involved. And also something very effective that I've seen is to have a get involved button on the website or the Facebook page, in which anyone could just send a message to the NC and say, okay, I'm interested in your organization. Can I know more? Can I get involved? And I think that creates a direct channel with people that actually wish to become part of EYP, and it is not limiting the number of members that can actually join our events. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Can we hear from David and then from Julia?
Yeah, I second Anthony and Vicky on their thoughts. I almost 100% agree with them. And I also think that in general, like regional and national sessions are probably the base for every NC where they recruit their new members, and they are one of the main tools for ensuring outreach and inclusion. And the jury system in general works differently in across many NCs. And I think each country chooses the categories of selection based on their specifics, based on the specifics of their country. And I agree that there should be some changes and constant innovation and development on that point. But I also think that in many countries, the systems that we have proves to be effective. And there are some, there are some points which need to be followed to uphold the academic level of the sessions and the debates that we are having. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Great, I'll just continue. So yeah, I think for me, it's really, again, building on the points that have been mentioned already, but it's more about going back to what we're trying to achieve. And I think definitely selections are how in the past we've achieved a kind of vertical progression through the organization. And I think this is something that maybe is we're moving away from at the moment. And I'm really interested in what Benjamin mentioned about the completely getting rid of the selections. Definitely interested in hearing more about that. And I think yeah, for me, it's really just about actually how can we make sure that everyone that we meet and the people that we have yet to meet and get them involved, how can we make sure that they get value from their experience of EYP, whether it's an afternoon in a school or a 10-day international digital session, or whether it's in person. And yeah, really, I think this is something that we can work together at, definitely, and it requires, I think, a lot more brainstorming, but it's more about redefining what we want to actually give to members, and whether that's we want them to progress in a vertical fashion through a selection, or whether it's more about outreach and how to support national committees to get more people involved through, like Vicky mentioned, members weekends or school days in schools, or whether it's even something like a talk that's hosted by EYP. I know EYP Ireland will be doing something similar in the coming weeks. So something like that, I think, is maybe what we can focus on.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Julia. And then before wrapping up this side of the outreach, inclusion and events topic, I'd like to hear from Ozer.
Hey, I support that despite of everything, we should create an equal access for all participants who may want to experience how does it feel to be a part of this organization. So I believe that selection methods could be so stressful for some people, I mean, who can get easily stressed. So I think there should be some activities and workshops to, like orientation workshops, to get people get used to our organization after all, so they can be more comfortable to reach out, and also to make more people get involved. I believe that there should ambassadors, like chosen ambassadors to represent our organization and represent the values of our organization. So many people can hear and get more interested about that, because there are many people who are isolated from the social media. So being only digital or focusing to only these promotions is not only way to access more people, in my opinion. But of course, as other people mentioned, digital sessions also have many opportunities as well.
Thank you very much, Ozer. And just to swiftly change the more or less the topic of this discussion, but still within the same area of work, Maria Manolescu, former GD member, asked a very interesting question regarding, she said, in recent years, there's been a shift towards an increase in focus in making EYP a safer and more welcoming environment for all, including by educating members and participants on bullying, harassment and abuse, and providing complaint mechanism for when such incidents occur. And I would like to hear from the GB candidates, how would they like to contribute to strengthen this, the side of this safe EYP further in the future? So Ida, for example?
Yes, as I hopefully you have read my manifesto, or at least seen the picture I put on Facebook, but member welfare and safety is a very important and a key priority to me personally, because I have had a strong focus on it during my work as the vice president and president of EYP Finland, and developing that in Finland. And what I think is a very key is early intervention. So if anyone notices any kind of harassment or abuse or improper behavior, that they feel that they can approach someone and tell them. So so having this low threshold person to approach is very important, and also that when people tell about this, that we have an intervention and we discuss about this, so it just doesn't get swept under the rug. And also, I think this was also in the new strategy, that there should be more education and training already for the event safe persons and national safe persons from the very early on of their, so once they start in the role, they should have more training. So I think as a GB member, I would like to maybe find these kind of trainers, maybe some other organizations who work with harassment and bullying, and maybe have some experts from there to help us to build a proper training regimen for our safe persons in EYP.
Thank you very much, Ida. Leonor, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I mentioned also in my manifesto. I think one of the biggest priorities right now in terms of safeguard team in specific, and the policies for the safeguarding of the dignity in EYP is the idea of event safe persons is still very unclear across many NCs. Some people use board members, some people use officials, and I understand that it's really hard to get someone to be available for an entire session, and usually you should ideally have 2 people in the session available to do this, and it's very hard to get someone who doesn't have a conflict of interest, because if you have, but I think this is something that we should work on, kind of like see what different NCs are doing, analyze what structures work better, and kind of do more knowledge sharing, because the safeguard team has existed for 2 years now. So there's definitely a lot that we've learned, and we need to kind of like apply that knowledge and spread it across the network. And and I mean, this applies to other rules, but that's basically what I wanted to say for now.
Thank you. And yeah, just before passing it to Vicky for her opinion, I would like to remind GB candidates to try to keep it short and concise and accurate. And also answering the main question from Maria, which is how would you like to contribute as a GB member to, yeah. So Vicky, go ahead.
Okay, I will try to keep it short. Basically, I think we should concentrate on education, on awareness raising regarding this issue, especially amongst our members as a preventive measure. In order for our members to become ambassadors themselves of such values. I, as a GB member, would concentrate on training. We have also discussed this at the last BNC meeting. I think I would like to concentrate on where to find professionals and people that can provide adequate training for the safe persons in order to be able to handle and not bring even more damage in an already sensitive situation. So I think we should put an extreme focus on finding people that could train our safe persons and promote the values that the Safe Core team wants to promote, even as members ourselves.
Thank you, Vicky. Benjamin, your hand has been up for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I believe that all the candidates already said the majority of what we need to update and go deeper in the work. But I would like to link it with our past debate and outreach and inclusion is also making sure that all our members feel at ease in our event, they feel welcomed, and they feel that they can belong to our organization. And actually, if we can take a question that we had just before regarding the juries, we can still have juries in our events without selection. If we have juries that are focused on feedbacks and personal development, which is, I believe, the path that our organization needs to take to really empower our participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. David?
Yeah, just to add up, I think it is important to have a diversity and safety-oriented organizational development process overall. And just a good example is something that there is already in Schwarzkopf Foundation, for example. I am also involved in the Understanding Europe project. And there is an external advisor who is a professional in the field and is advising the trainers and the country coordinators of Understanding Europe countries on how to basically organize the development process in a diversity oriented and safety oriented manners. So I think EYP can also have something similar, and it would be very effective.
And then can we have Anthony and then Julia?
Yeah, I want to just raise a point that I think is going over a lot of people's heads right now is that this cannot be done, pardon my language, half-assed, because this is a very sensitive topic. And I think a lot of people with approaching this feel like they can be a psychologist. Becoming a psychologist or some sort of professional in this field is incredibly difficult. For instance, in Finland, it is literally the hardest university subject to go to. So when approaching this, we cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, take it up lightheartedly. Like when we as we are tackling this, it has to be fully iron bound. It has to be foolproof. And I would even suggest this comes down to a financial issue, and this is something I believe we will all be talking about for some time to come. But for instance, as Maria mentioned, that the Safety Core team is trying to receive a grant from the Council of Europe. I would feel almost more comfortable if we had actual professionals rather than us as individuals, but this becomes a very big financial issue. And I think this is something that needs to be addressed really strictly. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And then we're going to go through Julia, and it's going to be the last point of this debate. There are many other things to discuss. So yeah, Julia, go ahead.
I'll just be brief. I think just to build on what everyone else has said, and I just noticed Maria's additional comment in the chat there. So I think for me, it is just about remembering our duty of care for all the members. So I think, like Anthony mentioned, we are also, we have a responsibility to protect those who also volunteer as safe core team members or as safe persons. And I think that comes with training, but it also comes with other aspects that I am also not completely averse to. So I think that's just something that needs to be remembered as well. And I think then as well, there's huge potential in the new strategy to really institutionalize this part of EYP and have it as a core pillar in our in how we approach everything, and that it's never a side topic, but rather is a core part of everything that we do, I think, as well, which it is definitely on its way to.
Thank you very much, Julia. So we're going to now move to a third block of discussion, which is going to be on strategic development and innovation. So many of you have mentioned it in your manifestos, how you would like to implement and finalize the EYP strategy 2021 and 2025. However, in the chat, we're seeing many questions about the strategic development of our organization in many different ways. One of the main questions is on the financial structure of our organization and how we should approach this in the future to make it sustainable. So apart from this topic, which is a definitely tremendously interesting topic, I would like to hear also points on the sustainability side, so the eco-friendly side of our development, which has been mentioned in many of your manifestos, and that is tremendously interesting as well as implementation of the strategy. But first of all, I would like to take points on this financial issue that has raised in the chat bar. Should we hear from Anthony first and then Oser?
Yeah, thank you. This was my second point in my manifesto that I would want to work on. I feel like kind of connecting this to the ISs, I feel like a big issue with ISs right now is the fact that I have personally heard members who would have loved to organize ISs, but upon finding out that the members' fees go entirely and directly to the IO for their operations rather than the actual IS, which is very hard already to organize, is a discouraging fact for organizers. And because we need to diversify our way of income, an idea that has been floating about for a while in EYP right now is how do we professionalize our people, our members, and a part of this is trying to create systems where we can create internships and potential work opportunities through partnerships, and those can be negotiated and agreed upon through funding, because we have a massive network of thousands of new members every year, and we have some absolutely brilliant minds here that ask the questions: how do we put EYP on our CV? How do we get this experience? And nobody really knows how to do it properly. And then we have some members who end up working for the European Parliament and the Commission, and having this kind of a branch in EYP where you're able to actually end up going up and beyond into a more professional life can give, one, a great advantage for our organization, and two, potentially monetary income on an international level.
Yeah, I think before we go to Oser, I think Vicky has a direct response.
Yes, Anthony mentioned something that I have in my manifesto as well. I actually believe that I think we should focus on the partnership strategy of EYP, for example, by partnering with NGOs or UN agencies, for example, the United Nations Development Programme or the International Organization for Migration or the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, which all partner with civil society organizations in program implementation and policy advocacy. And I think that this wouldn't necessarily bring any financial aid directly from these agencies. However, I think this would be extremely important to build the credibility and the reputation of EYP as a whole. And this could help NCs to become more appealing within their national borders and receive more sponsorships. So I think that both NCs and the GB should work with partnerships, both on national and international level, in order for NCs to receive more funding, both in the short term and in the long term. And also, and also as Anthony mentioned, which was what my DR was actually about, is that creating internship opportunities could actually be done. And I wish to concentrate on that as well. So I think it's a very good point.
Thanks, Vicky, and thanks, Anthony, for your points. However, I mean, this is a tremendously interesting topic. However, it's probably we could address it a bit further in one of the next topics, which is on skills, opportunities for our members, and methodologies, which is hopefully we have time for that. Ozer, can we hear a bit from your side on the strategic development side of things?
First of all, I would like to mention that internship idea was really good. And I think sponsorship, as mentioned, is so important because in the world there are many organizations, many non-profit organizations who would like to support youth-led change. And I also benefit from one of those organizations who are open to support people. And I believe that partnership and sponsorship can benefit for us to increase our income. Besides of this, despite of all membership fees, there are campaigns like donations and stuff, and we can also work on this to get more help from people, because if we can't find any direct resource or from any partnership or from any sponsorship, we should create our own fund. So in order to do that, I think volunteer people from across Europe, from schools or from other target groups can be volunteered to donate, and that can form the main output of the income.
Thank you very much, Ozer. Now, David, would you like to give us your opinion on the topic?
Yeah. Well, in order to ensure strategic development, we need to have two main aspects, in my opinion, which are the sustainability and innovation. So the organization should aim to be sustainable in both when it comes to ensuring the sustainability of its work and fundraising, and of course, the environmental aspect as well. And when it comes to the innovation part, innovation is the basically cornerstone of strategic and sustainable development. So in order to succeed in this, we need to constantly innovate, and I think more emphasis should be put on events such as Innovation Lab, which I was a part of last year, and I think that events like that have a huge potential, and the cooperation with Energiestiftung in general is very fruitful for EYP. When it comes to the financing structure of EYP, it is definitely not sustainable at the moment, and it is overly connected to the ISs. However, it is a very sensitive topic for all NCs, considering the differences that the NCs have, because each NC has a different structure and has different resources. And I think a very profound feedback should be gathered from each and every single NC before making such a decision, because if we will make a wrong decision, it may be fatal for many NCs. That is why I think we need to have more detailed feedback and survey maybe for the.
Thank you, David. Vicky, is that a direct response?
It was more of a general point to conclude.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Because I just touched upon the financial aspect maybe and the building of reputation of EYP, I also wanted to explain another point, which would be also partnering up with other youth associations and other youth organizations in order to make our voice heard as EYP, even in international institutions. I think we should work as EYP more towards maybe advocacy activities in order to have an impact in our local communities. To do so, partnering up with UN agencies, as I was already explaining, could be extremely beneficial. And I think that EYP in general and NCs more specifically could take action in social initiatives, for example. And in this way, we could enhance the impact that we have in our societies and generally be more impactful in terms of giving people the possibility to get involved in EYP and bringing a concrete change in their lives through different actions.
Thank you, Vicky. Julia.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that the strategic development in EYP and our 2021 to 2025 strategy will really very much depend, but also, I guess, go hand in hand with the point on bridging the gaps between EYP and the external, either policy making, decision making, or institutions, etc. And I think this is kind of where there's a huge potential to fix a lot of things, or to have a huge impact in that sense. And I think just an experience that I've had in EYP fundraising was in 2014, but for me it was, I think we had a huge struggle to contacting individual actors, and in the end you're not really asking for all that much from them, but I think whenever you're doing it on an individual basis, it seems like so much and is can make a bigger deal out of it. So I think definitely the more that we can do to kind of combine efforts and to have a kind of stronger external relations that can then kind of fundraise more collectively, I think at a national level, but also internationally, I think would help.
Thank you very much, Julia. Anthony, do you want to go ahead? And then we can hear from Ozer. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Just to interject with a side point about strategy, I feel like the media side of me will not forgive me if I don't interject here. There's also a communication strategy that was developed specifically to get more outreach and understanding and showcasing of EYP and how to sell it to external audiences, and that being one of my manifesto points. And I feel like with the 21-25 strategy coming in order, there's a lot of misunderstanding and lack of knowledge of how to effectively look at the communication strategy and involve it in on an NC level. And I feel like that's something that should be, regardless of who ends up getting the GBC, should be looked at. And the communication strategy should be taken care of because that will be an extremely valuable asset in the long run, because media is the way that we can get external exposure besides sending emails to giant corporations, whether they're good or bad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Ozer.
I actually raised my hand a while ago to ask the things that I mentioned before, but it just came to my mind that also there are many aid programs of the European Union where we can benefit for the funding to run a project. Projects could be in the fields of human rights or civil society or youth participation, youth empowerment. And this is also one of my ideas to mention here.
Oops, sorry. Thank you very much, Ozer. Sorry, I was on mute. And then Benjamin to wrap up this topic on strategic development.
Yeah, thank you. So sustainability is part of our manifesto, and financial sustainability is obviously something really important. I believe all national committees are bearing a lot of pressure on their shoulders around all of this. And for sustainable finances, we need to build long-term, long-lasting partnerships. And having only sources of money coming from one individual event is not really sustainable anymore. So I believe the GB needs to keep working on diversifying sources of fundings. I know some work has been done by the GB, and GB Associate also bring a lot of new ideas, but actually we need to be way more efficient in our fundraising. And how to do it is to use our innovation capacity and capacity building, and we need to exchange with national committees to have the best practices and try to help entities between themselves, but also we can try to think of all activities that we can develop that can bring us more fundings. I am thinking of multilingualism, for example. That is a new way of finding money, for example, that we can explore, as we have the example with the Ensemble session that is happening between EYP France and EYP Germany, for example. And we can see that we can build long-term new partnerships to bring new sources of funding.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask Leona and Ozer to have their hands down. Sorry about that. Just for the sake of time, we're going to start wrapping up into our last topics of debate. And I'm just going to combine a couple of them because they have been mentioned in very similar fashions throughout this debate. And it's how can we learn from other organizations and partner with different types of organizations and institutions, and how that creates a better experience for our members in terms of like the improvement of their personal skills, both soft and hard skills. And I would like to hear more from the GB candidates on how can we use partnerships, and at the same time, how do we think that members should be, what other kind of skills should they learn, and how can we increase their personal development? Ida, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe that a really important thing here is to encourage NCs to find partners within the countries that could provide, maybe we could work together on different events rather than have it on an international scale. Because, for example, I know from EYP Finland's perspective that we have always worked with other youth organizations within Finland and have had joint events and panels and discussions, especially before the elections and so on. So I think it's that there are already NCs who have had very strong and positive experiences with different organizations. And just to finish off, I think this is a great opportunity to work with different organizations in order to help accessibility to people with disabilities.
Thank you, Ida. Can we hear from David?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the educational program and opportunities, education is the backbone of the network, and it is important to ensure that the educational added value is always a priority. And here I think it's very important to emphasize the vital role of teachers, who are key to ensuring the academic standing of our events and act as an anchor between schools and the national committees. So it should be, I think, it should be a priority to have a clear understanding of how the network should maintain and promote the teachers' role and their effective engagement in the organization. Also, when it comes to partnerships, again, I would like to bring yet another example, and do parallels with Understanding Europe. I think there is an unutilized game potential when it comes to collaborating with Understanding Europe country teams, because it can help establish new connections with many schools in the Understanding Europe countries, and also it can become a good platform for experience and knowledge exchange between the Understanding Europe coordinators, trainers, and EYPers. Especially when it comes to training methodologies and the knowledge of on possibilities of political engagement as an active citizens. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you very much, David, for a very thorough answer. Can we hear from Anthony?
Yeah, I just want to, on terms of partnerships and sort of kind of reiterating the points, I can attest from personal experience that the partnerships exist. It's just though you have to know how to look at them. For instance, coming from the experience of fundraising for the International Forum Lapland, a lot of people said there were no funding opportunities present within the whole Nordic region, and we ended up cooperating with Nordic Council and other Nordic members and EU members are receiving funding. Alternatively, on a more personal level, there's also companies that are willing to partner based on the fact that we have that kind of quote unquote potential future workforce. I, for instance, got an internship through attending the EYP Media Lab accidentally because I decided to speak with one of the speakers, and I got an internship for that. And having spoken with him in the past, or both the CEOs, they both agreed that they would be interested in having more members from EYP if they fit the roles, attend or internship, or even potentially in the future work at organizations. So there's definitely an ocean of opportunities. It's that we have to approach them in the right way and offer it, but we can't also importantly sell ourselves short, because we are a brilliant organization and we should never forget that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Vicky, is that going to be a direct response to Anthony? Oh, okay. Yeah, then can we hear from Oser then?
I was going to mention that partnerships are also important to provide mentorship for each other, because, for example, I'm a president of a youth organization, and during our activities, we had to advocate through human trafficking in order to prevent the human trafficking in our communities. So, for example, we got engaged with an organization who is actively working in the field of human trafficking and prevention of human trafficking. So they became mentor of us to engage with victims of the human trafficking. That was just an example. And also we helped them to reach more young people for their organization. So I was going to mention the partnership is so important for the mentorship as well as fundraising.
Thank you, Oser. And then can we have Julia, and then followed by Leonor?
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think so. For me, the like external relations and partnerships are, there's a financial side, but I think also for me it's a lot about empowerment and about also like building on what Anthony said, like realizing the impact that we have as an organization. And I think when we look inwardly, we often forget, because we're so focused on what we're doing, and we've all volunteered so many hours and you work so hard, and you kind of forget that you have an amazing impact outside of EYP, whether you realize it or not. So I think by involving external actors, you really get that like mirror to see everything that you're doing in the organization. So I think we have the possibility to expand the external relations we have, but also working, I guess, with the guests and experts and people that we already welcome to our events. I think it's really important to give the opportunity to more members to access that relationship, rather than maybe just the leadership team or just certain members who have contact with their maybe expert for their committee. So I think that's a huge point that would really help in also I suppose going back to my manifesto, which is to like really promote the idea that we're all young leaders and change makers, and that actually the external relations that we want we have loads to give in that as well. And it's about empowering members to go out into the communities and spread the impact that EYP has. Whether someone wants to partner with us or not, you can make that change as well, I think.
Thank you very much, Julia. And then before going to Leonor, and just as a wrap up to this topic, can we also like look at how different partnerships can affect our participants and make our participants learn something new? Leonor, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to really stress that I definitely agree with what David is saying. I think there's was saying about understanding Europe. I'm also involved with the project, and I think there's huge potential for the like joining of the projects and for cooperation. And I also just wanted to very briefly mention that selling ourselves, I don't like using the word selling ourselves, but just presenting ourselves as less of an elitist organization by being more inclusive, by including less dress codes and things of the such is something that is very attractive to partnerships. And at least in my experience fundraising for EYP Portugal a couple of years back, I think one of the things that we need to work on is kind of present as less elitist. And I think that EYP Media, as Anthony was saying, is a great opportunity to kind of like lower our like selling points. Yeah.
Thank you, Leonard. And then before finishing this topic, can I hear from Vicky and then followed by Benjamin?
Thank you for the word. So on how to make good use of partnerships and corporations to bring an added value for our members, I think that we should include representatives and professionals coming from the agencies and organizations we wish to partner with to our trainings. And as Julia actually was saying, we should make the trainings available not only to a really small group of people, but make them available to the greatest amount of people that we can possibly reach. This, as Anthony mentioned, is indeed an opportunity for networking, so getting in actual contact with these people and professionals. And we should work for the creation of internships, not only because the idea is extremely nice and would give an additional educational value, but also because it provides a concrete hands-on experience. And I think that many of our members could actually be interested in that. About joining efforts instead with youth organizations, we could get in contact, for example, with the European Youth Forum and ISEC to exchange knowledge and develop new innovative methodologies. And we could include these representatives in our mentoring programs, in our alumni talks, in order to bring an additional educational value to EYP in general and make it just available to everyone. I think this would be extremely important to broaden our vision and our horizons as EYP.
Thank you, Vicky. Benjamin, to wrap up this topic.
Yes, I believe in EYP we all have common values and common will to empower young people in the whole network. Now when we look to impact that our events have and our activity have, actually we can see that we have differences from one NC to another. So I think that we should mainly base our debates on data collected by impact assessment of the EYP, and then help NCs to develop coherent strategies to gain more impact. And actually, I think we need to see partnerships as a way to enhance our values and to enhance what our activities are and everything. But partnerships are not a way to redefine our activities and what we are doing. I mean by this that we're still an organization which main goal is to empower young people, and we're not a lobbyist organization, for example. And I would really like to stress this in the partnership that we can build in the future. And we need to align impact goal with partnership guidelines to develop sustainable partnerships and to enable every NCs to develop themselves long-term partnerships.
Thank you all. Yeah, so we're going to move to the last topic of this GB Elections Town Hall, which is going to be on democracy, governance, and transparency as part of EYP, and how the GB might help develop further these areas. So one of the questions that has come up in the sidebar on this came from Emilio's, being that the GB is in the recent years has demanded a lot of work from national committees, which sometimes are a bit overburdened by their own tasks. So my main question would be, how can we keep a balanced governance structure that allows everybody to fulfill a minimum set of objectives and tasks, but while at the same time making it cooperative for everybody? So who would like to start first? So Ida, for example.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. This is also something I would like to bring in with my manifesto as well, is that because I know, as having been a part of an NC board, that the work can sometimes be a lot, and we are all volunteers. We're young people. We have a lot of other things in our lives. So what my main point would be to focus on quality rather than quantity. So focusing on taking the resources that each NC has and making the most out of them, not rather trying to stretch them as far as they can go, but rather boil it down to the most quality that they can provide. And also, I also think that even though I have been discussing about NC capacity building and so on, I don't mean that we should have guidelines or mandatory meetings that NCs should take part, but rather have individual NCs be connected to one another if they, for example, want to provide similar events, for example, these hybrid events that I was already talking about before. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. I saw David's hand up before. Would you like to go ahead?
Yep. I agree what Ida is saying. Having been in the board, sometimes the work can really be hard. And overall, when it comes to democracy, governance, and transparency overall, I think it is sometimes that has been compromised in EYP during the previous years. And I think that the GB should be more communicative and transparent with the national committees. And also, whenever there are some tasks to do or whenever there are some objectives, they should be properly discussed with each and every NC and make sure to get all of the inputs. And only after that, also understand the availability of the NCs. And only after that, start the cooperation in a way that will be beneficial for both sides and also will not be a burden for anyone. Because if it becomes a burden, then the effectiveness of the work also falls a lot and the motivation also. So this is a very important question to address.
Thank you, David. Can we hear from Anthony and then followed by Leonor?
Yeah, thank you. This is something I've been looking forward to, and this is something I sent out an email about. Is specifically looking at individual NCs and looking at them on an individual basis to be able to support them at the best possible way, to support them in the way that they need to support. I feel like often when running for GB, you have visions of your own that you want to apply to the entire network that you think is the necessary next step to take. However, often than not, what happens is we go to a BNC, we discuss these topics, and then if they get adopted, NCs are supposed to somehow take them in. And some NCs might not agree with them, and they still have to theoretically take them in. And this is why I wanted to take the approach of individually discussing. I am aware that there's either on from the GB side that there are these regional clusters that governing body member is assigned to, and there's like 6 or some amount of people that they discuss this with. So having, on top of that, being an individual contact, I feel can create a more intimate conversation to further push ideas and to structure our approaches to work for the very best, for most effective way for each NC, and potentially opening these sort of meetings up unless there's anything very crucial that needs to be kept secret. Opening these up to the public can create the transparency level that we don't have yet, as a suggestion. Thank you.
Leonor, go ahead.
Yeah, like Anthony touched upon a lot of the things that I wanted to mention. And one of the things that I think are important here is to, like, regardless of which one of us gets elected, that the outcome is, or the policies that are passed are really policies that mean something to the people in the NCs and not just to us personally. And I think that's really important, especially when before we were discussing about the financial structures. I really think that this needs to be a discussion, and a lot of these discussions, in order to be democratically held, need to be held with the NCs and more widely with the network. And yeah, I think that one opportunity that comes with regional digital sessions that can free up the burden that NCs currently have, is that now we have an opportunity to join a session wherever you are, whenever we are, so you can have cross-border national sessions, cross-border regional sessions. So I think inter-NC cooperation in terms of sessions is really important right now to maximize human resources.
Thank you. Julia?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I completely agree with the points that have been said already. And I guess just to emphasize the idea that I think whenever teams are overburdened with work, I think that's kind of the killer of creativity and innovation. And there are a few things that we few really key pillars that are that we're aiming to achieve in the next few years. And I think now it's the time not to rush in and try and do everything all at once, but realize that we're in this for the long term. And this is really a time to focus on the priorities that we want to achieve in these 2 years. And that will then continue into the next 2 years of GB members and governance. And we're a fluid organization that continues all the time, and I think it's really important not to rush in and try and achieve everything at once. And then I guess just bringing back to my manifesto, from my perspective, I feel like the way to achieve this is a bit like what everyone has mentioned already, but rather listening, learning, and amplifying the voices within our network, and really emphasizing the processes and structures that are there that allow us to do this. I feel like that's a real responsibility as a GB member, whoever is voted in. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Vicky?
Thank you. Okay. I just want to reiterate the fact that GB should be seen as a resource rather than as a big brother, which sometimes is the case. So there has been some discussion on how the measures, how the international strategies will be implemented. And this also has seen as kind of a burden for some NCs, and also the compliance mechanism may be a bit worrying. Just from the name of it. However, I strongly believe that all NCs undoubtedly wish to grow and work on our shared objectives, and that shouldn't be put in question. I think that the GB should have a lot of patience because of the pandemic, and NCs in general just had a general decrease in human resources and in funding in general. I also wish to talk about the regional cluster talks. I have personally taken part in the regional cluster talks, and I've seen the importance of them. And I think that they're very useful to get to know what is going on. However, I think that an individual approach could be preferred. Also because I think NCs are not that willing to share that much of an internal perspective during the regional talks. And this would allow us to have a more targeted approach towards each NC. I think the GB members should be available to closely follow the work of NCs, but with the aim of giving advice. And the GB, as Julia said, should foster creativity, and absolutely we should welcome new types of events that are even different and can even sound scary from some perspectives. However, I think the GB should really work in that regards. And I think it's all a matter of perspective, and I think we should change that in terms of cooperation.
Thank you, Vicky. So just to finalize this topic, David, I see your hand up. Would you like to make a point?
No, I think I just forgot to put it down after my last speech.
That's absolutely fine. Thank you very much to all of the candidates for very interesting discussions. Benjamin, would you like to go ahead?
Of course, yes, I would like to.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I wanted to say that regarding governance, we need to keep in mind that we are establishing EYP strategy. This year, we had great opportunity to receive a lot of inputs from our members. So actually, our thinking of the governance is almost like something that we can take. We need to finalize the strategy, of course, but actually we need to put all our efforts in the implementation. Because actually, even like this year, I don't know for the one who were looking at it, but actually when you look at our past strategy, we can see that we have some of our aims that we didn't even touch upon in the 5 years. and it's sometimes because we have a lot of issues coming up, and in the BNCs we're discussing a lot of things. But for the next strategy, I really hope that we will stick to the pillars that we established and all the issues that they are raising already, and that we will be able to really support the national committees in adopting the strategy for themselves and applying the strategy in their national committees, and really take ownership of this strategy. This is really the goal. And to reach this goal, I really intend to have support toward NCs, and a lot of things were stated, and I fully agree with them. But I will also see the creation of for example, weekends dedicated, or training or coaching dedicated to the EYP strategy implementation within NCs, and engage discussion with NCs in their implementation of the strategy and how we can achieve better outcomes of the strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're reaching just the end of this town hall. So for this final contribution, I would like also for the candidates to see who has been behind the screen on the other side. So I would like to ask everybody in the audience or the public to also turn their cameras on, so you can see faces, which is great to see. Now we have 59 participants in this call, but it has reached around 75, which is absolutely amazing. And yeah, now it's very difficult to moderate this debate when I see like a lot of faces, but hopefully I can do well. So as I said at the beginning, we're now going to have the final short speech from each of the candidates. And again, as you did at the beginning, it's going to be 1 minute, just explaining or asking for the vote, and why should people vote for you. So I am going to follow exactly the same order as before, but the other way around. So we're going to start with Benjamin. The floor is all yours for your final speech.
Yes, thank you, everyone. It was really nice having the chance to chat with all the candidates about all the issues for networks. As I stated in my manifesto, most important for me is to help the EYP to move forward. And I believe all the issues we tackled tonight are going in this direction, and I'm really happy. And I would like to be the one implementing these changes for our networks based on our EYP strategy. And I believe the real question is, who do you want to see leading this change? And actually, I believe I have the necessary experience of NCs, BNC, and GB functioning and way of working, and I will be more than happy to lead this change alongside all the amazing individuals in our organization. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Benjamin, can we have Vicky now for your 1 minute final speech?
Thank you. I wish to start by saying that I believe in EYP, and I believe in us as young leaders and change makers. I think that until now we have gone a great way, a long way, and that we have broadened our vision and become more self-aware in general as an organization and as individuals. During these years, I've met so many people, which had an immense set of skills to offer. And I think that we should just make use of such potential to bring EYP even one step further. I think that being part of this organization is a huge opportunity, and that we should make every single member count and be valued. We are strong, we are many, and we have something that makes us almost invincible, which I think is the ability to think big. Today, I see a lot of familiar faces with whom I personally had the chance to share wonderful experiences that I will never forget, and that have shaped the way that I think and I deal with life even today. So no matter how these elections will go, I wish for EYP to be really ambitious, and I believe in the people that are part of this big project to make a difference. So finally, I just wish to say thank you to all of you for being here today, all of the EYPers that I've met so far and I will meet in the future. And I also wish good luck to all of the candidates. I think you've done an amazing job. So thank you very much for sharing this time.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you for those emotional words. Now can we hear from David next? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Well, I mean, I also want to start by thanking everyone for this very interesting discussion and questions. And also I want to emphasize that me, and I'm sure all other candidates as well, would be very happy to continue the discussions in the Facebook event or International Governance Facebook page. So feel free to contact any one of us. I want also to say that I have been in the network for 5 years now, and it has changed my life in ways that I could never imagine, basically. And it also gave me opportunity to deeply understand how EYP functions, what complex challenges it faces, and the opportunities that we as a network possess. And I truly want to have my own input to give back to the network in helping it to grow sustainably and develop in an innovative manner. Yeah, so once again, I'm very open to further discussion on any points, and thank you so much for the discussion.
Thank you very much. Now, Julia, for your 1 minute final speech.
I have my timer. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to start by thanking everyone for joining this evening as well. I don't think I need to encourage any of you to vote. It's a wonderful display of democracy in action. And yeah, it's been amazing to hear all of your questions and again, hear from all the candidates as well. So I think it's so clear from this evening that whoever you vote for, your vote will be for any of these amazing candidates. It will be a positive one for EYP. So thank you for getting involved as well, mainly. But if you do decide to vote for me, just thank you in advance. And I really hope that you've seen that a vote for me will be that I will dedicate my time and energy to listening and learning from you all, and to try and make this organization even more accessible, even more welcoming, and empowering for all of our members. So thank you again for joining, and good luck to all the candidates as well.
Thank you, Julia. Now we're going to hear from Ozer. Go ahead for your 1 minute final speech.
First of all, whether I got elected or not, it was amazing to have this experience with you all, and also nice to meet you with all of you. And I would like to say good luck to all candidates who are running for this election. And I might not have that experience that they used to have with EYP, but I would like to mention that I am going to learn with you all if I am going to be elected, and I will do everything to make youth voice heard across Europe and create a place for young people in the policy making and making youth ideas, youth thoughts heard for a new future. And that's all about me. Thank you for all again, and thank you for those who contributed to the process of elections.
Thank you. So now we're going to hear from Leonor.
Hi again, everyone. I also want to start by thanking everyone for being here, from the candidates to the people at the office, to Ignacio, and all of you who are, of course, watching. And the reason why I'm running and the reason why I think my presence at the GB would make some sort of a difference is that I agree with everyone when they said that EYP has changed my life. Like, it definitely has. I think everyone who is at this town hall has been affected by EYP in some way, but my life has changed very majorly after being diagnosed with the disease. And when I look back, and if the state of my health was the same 4 years ago, I really don't think I would have stayed in this network, because I really don't think we have the structures yet for people who are sick and for people from different backgrounds. And so the reason why I'm running is because I really think I can offer a unique perspective, not only based on my personal experience, but also based on what I study and the things that I do in my free time. And yeah, but regardless, thank you so much for coming, and yeah, have a good evening.
Thank you, Leonor. Ida, go ahead.
Thank you. And I don't think I need to thank any of you anymore, but you probably know I'm so glad to see all of you here, and I hope all of you vote and tell everyone you know in the network to participate in this election and vote. But I have had the chance to see EYP develop over the 8 years, and I don't want to lose the momentum and the development we have achieved thus far. So I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel, but rather build on top of all the great achievements we have had thus far. So especially in terms of outreach and inclusion and well-being of members are very the two key issues for me. And if you vote for me, you know that I really have the strong experience from both international and national level governance. So I hope you have been able to see this from this town hall meeting.
Thank you, Ida. And then last but not least, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you very much first to all the candidates, all of your amazing work, and all of the other ideas and different perspectives that you've brought to it. It's massively important for the organization to continue growing. And I want to just straight away, before any of the election results come out, I want to reach out to whoever gets elected. I am available to assist in any form, even if I am not elected, especially on the side of EYP Media, because I truly do care about that side and I want to see it become what it truly has the potential to be. But to all the people voting, all the NCs, I am taking a different approach. I am taking an open agenda approach. I am taking I'm making bold claims. And if some of you who don't know me, my life has always been around, no, you can't do that. No, that's not possible. That's never going to happen. And that's always motivated me. And I have achieved and overcome a lot of these things. So when you think that my claims are bold or somehow unrealistic, I can tell you that I will overcome them and I will figure out how to do it, because I don't have an option to do it. And once again, I want to thank all of you in advance for participating in democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you to all of the GB candidates for this, not only this final speeches, but also your contribution throughout this debate. It's been almost 2 hours, and in order to wrap up, the only things that I can say is just thank you also to the International Office for hosting this event and helping out at all times during this process. And just before I wrap up, just remember to vote, and if not, just get in contact with either your NC or the IO to make sure that you know how to vote. And then also, just most importantly, if you haven't, read the manifestos and watch the videos from different candidates. And I would also like to use just a few seconds to remind you that Aritz Labrador has not been around. However, he is a candidate with the same right, and just would like to point you to the website and the members platform, and also the Facebook event, where you can find the links to all of the manifestos, and you can read them all before you cast your vote. And without, I think that's it from my side. I think I'm going to pass it on to Anya for some final words.